Welcome to my channel. I never imagined that a single night could change everything. One moment, I was just me, Ryan, a regular guy with a normal life, slightly awkward, slightly nerdy, trying to keep my passions hidden. And the next, my world shifted in ways I could never have foreseen. It all began the night Isabella, my girlfriend, handed me a small vial, her eyes sparkling with mischief. I had always known Isabella was adventurous. She had a way of seeing life as a game, a puzzle, a thrill waiting to be solved. She was the kind of woman who could turn any mundane moment into an experiment, and she loved watching me squirm. I loved her for it, but I also feared her. Not in a dangerous way, more in a way that made my pulse race and my mind race ahead to possibilities I wasn't ready for. By day, I worked at a local tech company. I was good at my job, meticulous and dependable, but painfully ordinary. I didn't draw attention to myself. My colleagues barely noticed me unless a project went sideways. But by night, when the apartment was quiet and Isabella was out, I indulged in a secret passion, crossdressing. It wasn't about wanting to be someone else. It was about expression, about exploring facets of myself that society told me to hide. I would dress up, experiment with makeup, and admire the reflection in the mirror, imagining a side of me that was confident, bold, and beautiful. These moments were fleeting, secret, and intoxicating. Isabella, of course, knew. She didn't judge, she reveled in it. She loved the thrill of control, of curiosity, of pushing me further than I thought I could go. And tonight, she was taking that curiosity to a dangerous, irreversible level. "Ryan," she said softly, holding out the vial, "this is different from anything we've ever tried. It's a potion I found, and it's supposed to help you embrace the feminine side of yourself, permanently." Her words hung in the air. Permanently. My stomach churned. I looked at the small glass container, shimmering under the dim kitchen light. The liquid inside swirled with colors I couldn't quite name. Pink, gold, and a strange luminous silver that made it look alive. My instincts screamed that this was a boundary I shouldn't cross, yet a part of me, excited, curious, reckless, leaned forward. Permanently. I stammered. My voice felt strange, almost too high-pitched in the silence. "Yes," Isabella said with a smile that was equal parts reassurance and challenge. "You've always loved experimenting, haven't you? This will take it further than you ever imagined. You'll look, feel, and move like the feminine version of yourself. Completely. Forever." I swallowed hard. The rational part of my brain screamed no. Permanent? That was permanent. But another part, the part that had been dreaming in secret while putting on makeup in the privacy of my bathroom, whispered yes. The thrill of transformation, the idea of embodying my hidden self fully, was intoxicating. The apartment around us was quiet. Evening light filtered through the blinds, casting stripes across the floor. The kitchen smelled faintly of the dinner Isabella had prepared earlier, warm and comforting. Yet the air itself seemed charged with tension, anticipation, and something dangerously electric. My heart beat erratically as I stared at the vial, imagining the changes it could bring. "You don't have to do it," Isabella said, her tone softening, sensing my hesitation. "But if you do, you'll never look at yourself the same way again." I hesitated, my fingers brushing against the glass. My reflection in the window stared back at me, eyes wide with fear and curiosity. I could see Ryan, the man I had always been, but I also saw a glimpse of who I could be, confident, feminine, delicate, and radiant. The temptation was almost unbearable. Before I could think any further, Isabella leaned closer, her breath warm against my ear. "Do you trust me?" she whispered. I nodded, almost automatically. Trust? I trusted her. Too much, perhaps. And in that moment, I made the choice. I took the vial, trembling slightly, and swallowed the liquid in one gulp. The taste was bitter and metallic, like nothing I had ever experienced, and it burned as it slid down my throat. My vision blurred, the room tilted, and a strange warmth spread through my body. At first, nothing happened. Panic rose in me. Had I made a mistake? But then, subtle changes began. My hands felt softer, my skin tingled, my chest ached in unfamiliar ways. My heartbeat felt different, faster, more rhythmic. My hair seemed to feel alive, brushing against my face as if it were growing. My legs trembled, hips shifting in ways that felt entirely new. I stumbled to the mirror, and what I saw stole my breath. My face had softened, eyes larger, lips fuller, cheeks flushed with a delicate hue. My body had changed, curves forming where there had been none, my silhouette smoother, more feminine. And beneath it all, I felt different, alive, vulnerable, beautiful. Isabella watched silently, a small, satisfied smile on her lips. Beautiful, she whispered. You're beautiful, Ryan, or should I say, Renee. The name felt foreign and perfect. Renee. It sounded like me and yet not me, a new identity born from the potion's magic. I touched my face, my body, marveling at the changes. Panic mingled with excitement, fear mingled with desire. The reflection staring back at me was both a stranger and a part of me I had always wanted to meet. Don't be afraid, Isabella said, reaching out to take my hand. This is who you are now, Renee. And I'll help you. Embrace it. I wanted to speak, to say no, to protest. But the words caught in my throat. All I could do was stare at the reflection in the mirror, feeling a swirl of emotions. Fear, thrill, vulnerability, and an undeniable, magnetic attraction to this new self. My world had shifted irreversibly, and I knew deep down that nothing would ever be the same again. The night stretched on, the apartment quiet except for our breathing. I couldn't sleep, couldn't think clearly. Every glance at my new body made my heart race. Every sound of Isabella moving around the apartment reminded me that I was not just experiencing a temporary thrill, I was living in a permanent transformation. The potion had done its work, and I was powerless to resist. And yet, in that helpless, thrilling, terrifying moment, a small, defiant part of me whispered, maybe this is exactly where I was meant to be. The morning after I drank the potion, I woke in a daze, tangled in sheets that felt softer, almost silkier than usual. Sunlight streamed through the blinds, painting golden stripes across the room, but my focus wasn't the light, it was me. My body felt different, every inch of it unfamiliar yet natural, like I had finally slid into a skin I was always meant to inhabit. I stumbled to the bathroom, my bare feet brushing against the cool floor, and froze in front of the mirror. Renee stared back, my features perfectly altered. Cheeks flushed with a subtle glow, lips plump and rosy, hair cascading in gentle waves down my shoulders. My frame had softened, curves appearing where once there were none, hips slightly wider, chest rounded. It was overwhelming, surreal, intoxicating. Every movement felt foreign but thrilling. I ran my hands over my new form, marveling at the gentle sway of my hips, the softness of my skin, the delicate arch of my brows. My reflection was a stranger and yet deeply familiar. I could see Ryan behind the eyes, curiosity, fear, hesitation, but Renee glimmered in every smile, every subtle tilt of the head. Isabella entered the bathroom quietly, leaning against the doorframe, her eyes scanning me like a painter inspecting a masterpiece. You're beautiful, she said softly. Perfect. That's my Renee. I swallowed hard. Beautiful. Perfect. Words I had only dreamed of hearing from myself, and yet, the thought of living like this forever made my stomach twist with both delight and anxiety. I don't know if I can do this, I admitted, my voice trembling. It sounded higher, lighter, undeniably feminine. The sound alone sent shivers down my spine. You can, Isabella replied, stepping closer. But it won't be easy. Today, I want you to practice being Renee fully. Walk, talk, sit, move, everything. You're not just dressing up anymore, this is real. Every gesture, every glance, every word must reflect who you are now. The day stretched into a series of exercises: how to walk gracefully, how to hold a cup of coffee without spilling, how to sit in a skirt without crossing legs awkwardly. Every motion felt exaggerated, a constant reminder of the transformation. I fumbled at first, hips swaying too much, hands trembling as I tried to mimic the elegance Isabella demanded. You have to embrace it, not fight it, Isabella instructed, adjusting my posture. Feel it, don't think it. Let your body remember what it is now. Her hands lingered briefly on my shoulders as she guided me, and the warmth of her touch sent another thrill racing through me. My heart beat erratically, part fear, part excitement, part forbidden pleasure. I realized the challenge wasn't just physical, it was mental, emotional. I had to convince the world and myself that I was Renee. By afternoon, I had practiced basic interactions, speaking with a softer tone, moving my hands delicately, mimicking the small expressions Isabella had shown me. Each attempt left me exhausted yet exhilarated. I felt like I was straddling two worlds. Ryan's old self, trembling with fear and disbelief, and Renee, bold, elegant, undeniably alive. The real test came when Isabella suggested I venture into the living room to answer a phone call. My pulse quickened at the idea of leaving the safety of the bathroom, of presenting Renee to even a hint of the outside world. Act naturally, Isabella whispered as she handed me the phone. Remember, Renee is confident, poised, charming. Ryan. He's gone. I lifted the receiver, my hands shaking slightly, and managed a soft, composed hello. The voice on the other end belonged to my colleague, Mark, calling about a late project. I spoke, careful to modulate my tone, careful to project warmth and professionalism while keeping the feminine edge intact. Each word felt like a small victory, yet my heart raced. Was I convincing? Would anyone see through the changes? After the call, Isabella clapped softly. Better. You're learning quickly. We spent the next few hours on makeup. She taught me subtle shading, contouring my face to enhance the natural softness of Renee's features. Foundation, blush, eyeliner, mascara, all became tools of transformation, tools that erased Ryan and sculpted Renee. I felt powerful and vulnerable at once, my reflection increasingly unfamiliar, yet intoxicatingly beautiful. Lunch was a challenge. I had to eat delicately, without the careless movements I was used to. Isabella watched every bite, correcting my posture, instructing me on hand placement, and reminding me to smile occasionally. By the time the meal was over, my muscles ached from constant awareness, but my mind buzzed with a heady mixture of excitement and anxiety. The afternoon brought the first real test of social interaction. Isabella had arranged for a neighbor to drop by, someone who knew me well as Ryan but had never seen Renee. My chest tightened as the doorbell rang. "This is it," Isabella whispered. "Show them who you are now." I took a deep breath, adjusted my skirt and blouse, smoothed the wig over my shoulders, and opened the door. The neighbor's eyes widened slightly, a flash of recognition mingled with surprise, but I forced a warm, confident smile. "Hello," I said softly, each word carefully measured, every gesture graceful. The conversation was tense, a delicate dance. I laughed lightly when appropriate, nodded thoughtfully, kept my hands folded in front of me. Every moment was a test, every movement an exercise in control and poise. My pulse raced with fear and excitement. I was terrified they would see through the facade, yet thrilled to inhabit Renee fully. Hours passed in a haze of exercises, practice, and minor social interactions. By evening, my body ached, my mind was spinning, but I could feel a subtle shift. The more I practiced, the more natural Renee became. Ryan's panic ebbed, replaced with a cautious curiosity, a tentative pleasure in this new identity. But as night fell, a creeping fear emerged. Permanence. This wasn't a costume, wasn't a fleeting thrill. The potion had altered me forever. My thoughts spiraled, friends, family, colleagues. How would the world react if they saw Renee? Could I ever return to Ryan, or had that life ended the moment I swallowed the potion? Isabella sensed my anxiety and took my hands in hers. "It's okay to be afraid," she said. "This is new, challenging, exciting. But remember, I'm here. You're not alone. Renee is you. And you are amazing." Her words soothed me partially, but the fear lingered, a persistent shadow behind the thrill. I realized that transformation wasn't just physical. It was emotional, psychological. I had to embrace Renee fully, or risk losing myself in panic, shame, or regret. As I lay in bed that night, staring at the ceiling, the weight of permanence settled heavily on me. I was no longer Ryan in body, voice, or appearance. Renee was alive, vivid, and unmistakably real. And as much as I feared what tomorrow would bring, I knew one thing with clarity. My life had changed forever, and the suspense of the days ahead would push me to the limits of fear, desire, and identity. The next morning, the house was silent except for the soft hum of the coffee maker. I stepped out of bed, my body still unfamiliar yet eerily comfortable in its new curves. René's reflection in the full-length mirror caught my eye, and I couldn't help but trace the lines of my face with trembling fingers. The potion hadn't just changed my appearance, it had rewritten me. Every glance at my reflection reminded me that Ryan was gone. Permanently. Isabella appeared behind me, her presence both comforting and unnerving. "You're looking radiant," she whispered, brushing a loose strand of hair from my face. Her fingers lingered for a moment, and my pulse quickened. "Today, we push further. I want you to leave the house. Fully René. No hiding, no excuses." The idea alone made my stomach knot. Leaving the safety of home, venturing into the outside world as a version of myself I had never inhabited before. It was exhilarating and terrifying. My fingers fiddled with the hem of my blouse, tugging at the delicate fabric, as Isabella guided me to the door. "Confidence," she reminded me softly. "Every step, every glance, every word, own it." I opened the door, sunlight flooding my face, and stepped outside. The world looked different, sharper somehow, as if it was judging me already. I felt every eye on me, though no one was watching. Each step in my new heels sent a thrill up my spine, a blend of fear and pleasure. I was alive in a way I had never felt before, acutely aware of the sway of my hips, the bounce of my hair, the soft brush of fabric against my thighs. As I walked to the corner cafe, my nerves intensified. People passed me, oblivious to the transformation I was experiencing inside. But when I caught glimpses of myself in the glass windows, the stranger staring back at me made my chest tighten. This was real. There was no going back. Inside the cafe, I ordered a latte, my voice lilting, soft, undeniably feminine. The barista smiled warmly, offering no judgment, yet I felt the weight of every glance. I sat at a corner table, fingers wrapped around the warm cup, and felt a tremor of excitement. This was the first real test of living as René outside the safety of home. The day passed in a whirlwind of minor challenges. Navigating public spaces, managing conversations, and keeping my posture perfect. But the real suspense hit when I returned home. Isabella wasn't there. The silence of the empty house was oppressive, a reminder that I was alone with my new identity. I tried to relax, telling myself I could change back if anything went wrong, but every movement reminded me that René was now permanent, the potion having rewritten me entirely. Hours later, a knock at the door shattered the quiet. My heart leaped. Was it Isabella back early, or worse, someone else discovering me? I hesitated, glancing at my reflection in the hallway mirror. My posture stiffened, my hands shook, but I forced a calm, inviting smile. Opening the door, I was met with a stranger's grin. My neighbor, Mrs. Caldwell, holding a small package. "I thought you might like this," she said cheerfully, oblivious to the storm brewing inside me. I accepted the package, my hands brushing hers ever so slightly. The touch sent a shiver down my spine, a dangerous mix of thrill and fear. I managed a polite thank you, keeping my tone light and feminine. Inside, the package revealed a dress, one that René would adore, but my mind screamed caution. Accepting it meant stepping further into this new life, solidifying the transformation, making Ryan's existence feel like a fading memory. Before I could respond, the doorbell rang again. My pulse hammered. This time, it was someone I couldn't ignore. Mark, my colleague, unexpectedly early. My mind raced. How could I explain myself? Could I maintain the René persona under scrutiny? Panic clawed at me, but Isabella's voice echoed in my memory. Confidence. Own it. I opened the door, standing tall, every inch René. Mark's eyes widened, a flicker of confusion passing over his features. "René?" he asked cautiously. I forced a soft laugh. "Yes. I mean, hello, Mark." My voice was steady, melodic, undeniably feminine. Every word was a gamble, a balancing act between exposure and elegance. The conversation was a minefield. Mark asked questions, small talk about work, about Ryan, about me. I navigated carefully, answering vaguely, redirecting focus, using my new persona as armor. Yet every word, every gesture, felt like walking a tightrope over a pit of judgment. My hands shook slightly, and a strand of hair fell across my face. I brushed it back nervously, hoping he wouldn't notice. As the interaction ended, relief and exhilaration surged through me. I had survived the test, but barely. The adrenaline left my body shaking, heart racing. I realized then that the stakes were higher than ever. Living as Renee wasn't just a choice, it was survival, a delicate game of appearances and perception. Night brought its own challenges. Isabella returned, her eyes gleaming with a mix of pride and mischief. "You did well today," she said, guiding me to the bedroom. "But tomorrow will be harder. We'll introduce more people, more situations. You have to fully inhabit Renee, or risk unraveling everything." I sank onto the bed, exhausted, trembling, yet a spark of excitement glimmered in my chest. The thrill of secrecy, the danger of exposure, the intoxicating pleasure of being seen and admired, it was addictive. I realized then that the potion had changed more than my body. It had awakened desires, fears, and strengths I never knew I possessed. As I drifted into a restless sleep, Isabella whispered beside me, "Renee, the world isn't ready for you yet, but you will be. And when they see you, there's no going back." The words lingered in my mind as the night deepened. I knew she was right. The transformation was complete. Ryan was gone. Renee was here to stay. And the suspense, the thrill, and the challenges of this new life were only just beginning. The house was quiet once more. The evening had wrapped around me like a velvet cloak, soft and shadowed, yet charged with tension. I wandered through the rooms, each step in my heels echoing faintly against the wooden floor, a rhythmic reminder that Ryan was gone and Renee had taken over completely. I caught glimpses of myself in the mirrors, my reflection smooth, delicate, undeniably feminine. But the thrill of victory was tinged with fear. What if Isabella's next test pushed me too far? What if someone discovered the truth before I was ready? I sank onto the couch, wrapping my arms around my knees. Isabella had left for the night, leaving me alone to process everything. The silence felt heavy, almost conspiratorial, as if the house itself was waiting for me to falter. My fingers traced the edge of my skirt, the soft fabric whispering against my skin, reminding me of the permanent change coursing through my veins. Then, the phone buzzed on the coffee table. My heart leapt. A text from an unknown number flashed across the screen. "We know what you've done. Meet us tonight." Panic surged, icy and electric, freezing my limbs. Who could have discovered me so quickly? How did they know about the potion? Every scenario played out in my mind: an enemy from work, someone who knew my secret, maybe even a stranger who had followed me. My pulse raced as I realized I couldn't hide from this threat. Renee was out in the open now, vulnerable, exposed, yet entirely unprotected. A soft creak in the hallway made me jump. I spun toward the sound, my heels clicking sharply against the floor. Isabella appeared in the doorway, her eyes glinting with mischief and pride. "You're tense," she said softly, walking toward me. She crouched beside the couch, her hand resting lightly on my shoulder. "Good. That means you're learning the stakes. But there's more, Renee. Much more." Before I could respond, a sudden knock echoed through the front door. It was deliberate, insistent, almost mocking. My body froze, every nerve ending alive with fear. Isabella's smile widened. "That's your next challenge," she whispered, voice barely audible. "Will you answer the door as Renee, or hide and lose yourself?" I looked at my reflection in the hallway mirror. My lips were full, my eyes wide and alert, my body feminine and delicate, but the fear in my heart was raw and jagged. I could stay hidden, pretend nothing was happening, cling to what little comfort I had left. Or I could step forward, face the unknown, and fully embrace the life I had been forced into by the potion, and by Isabella. The knock came again, louder this time, shaking the fragile calm of the house. I swallowed hard, my throat dry. Every instinct screamed to retreat, yet something deep inside pushed me forward, a trembling courage that I hadn't known I possessed. I rose slowly, adjusting my dress, smoothing my hair, making sure every inch of Renee was perfect. Isabella watched silently, her expression unreadable but intense. "This is your moment," she said. "Show them, show yourself." I placed my hand on the doorknob, my pulse hammering in my ears. For a split second, doubt consumed me. What if this was a trap? What if everything unraveled in one catastrophic moment? My fingers tightened around the knob. The world outside the door was unknown, unpredictable, but there was no going back. Renee was no longer a secret. She was me. Taking a deep breath, I opened the door. The porch was empty, but at my feet lay a small velvet box. I bent down, my knees trembling, and picked it up. The instant I opened it, a blinding flash of light erupted, making me stumble backward. When my vision cleared, I saw something that made my heart stop. A letter, written in a handwriting I didn't recognize, and a small vial of glowing liquid, eerily similar to the potion that had transformed me. The note simply read, "One sip and the world will see the real you. But once taken, there's no return. Choose wisely." My breath caught in my throat. The vial shimmered in the dim light, promising power, danger, and perhaps the final step in a journey I hadn't even fully begun. My fingers hovered above it, trembling. Part of me wanted to throw it away, to reject whatever trap lay ahead. But another part, a reckless, daring part, wanted to embrace it, to see how far this new life could take me. Isabella's voice came softly from behind, almost a whisper, yet commanding, "Renee, are you ready?" I froze, the weight of the decision pressing down on me. My reflection in the mirror caught my eye again. Renee, strong, beautiful, vulnerable, and alive. The choice was mine. One sip, one step, one irrevocable action that would seal my fate. And just as my fingers touched the vial, the screen cuts to black.